Thank you, Dean Ham. Welcome the faculty, the graduates, families, friends, partners, and loved ones to this very special occasion. I don't remember a darn thing about my commencement speech. I don't know if it was a man or a woman. I don't know what the content was. We were so ready to ditch our gowns and ditch that town because we had jobs to go to. I took one interview, I took that job. Clearly not a career planner and lacking in critical thought. And if I think about it, I can't believe it's a miracle that I'm speaking in front of you today. You didn't laugh so hard at that. You was really laughing at that part. This last May, I attended my daughter's graduation, and it was outdoors, and the parents were far away, and the students were up in the front, and they had a celebrity speaker, and in the front row is a young woman fast asleep like this, who they caught on the Jumbotron. She must not have had any friends. No one woke her up. And you know her parents were like this. And to you parents, I'm sorry, I'm not a celebrity. 2 hours, 2 days from now, someone will ask you who was the commencement speaker, and you'll say, I don't know, some woman. But I've got an idea for you. I've worked it out already. I think you should say it was Jane Goodall, the chimp expert. I'm serious. She's 78. I Googled just before I came on, she's still alive. If she doesn't depart this earth during this celebration, you are good to go. I thought of a title, From Chimps to Champions. I promise you it will be the only thing you remember from this entire time. If anyone asks you how she was, please say she was great. Thank you. I struggled a lot to think about what to talk to you today because I knew it was important and I wanted it to be meaningful because it's serious. And do you know how come? Do you know how you can tell? Half of us are wearing the same thing. It's kind of like the Amish. They're very serious. I didn't want to screw it up. And as many of you have known from classes, some of my chief source of inspiration is that intellectual bounty, Vanity Fair. So I'm on a plane because they call you way back in September. They want to give you a lot of time to get ready. And I began to worry about it way back in September. And I come across this article in the October issue by David Camp called The Birth of Bond, as in James Bond. I'm strangely attracted to the whole article. In fact, there are 2 paragraphs in here that I have drawn circles around and dog-eared both of them. And I don't know why. I don't know why I keep going back to it. The article is really about the scenario in 1959, before the first Bond movie was ever produced, what the world was like. 50 times I threw this away. 50 times I picked it up again. And like a bad boyfriend trying to borrow money, it would not leave me alone. I'm going to read you these 2 paragraphs. It's only 200 words, so it shouldn't kill you. I know people are like, 2 minutes, are you kidding? This is an older, stiffer world, with Britain just 5 years removed from food rationing, and America still in an era of Cramdens, an old TV show, Eisenhower's, an old president, and Fincaddy's, an old car. It is a world unfamiliar with the catchphrases shaken, not stirred, and Bond, James Bond, where no ears have heard Monty Norman's 4-note Bond motif, and no eyes have ever taken in Maurice Binder's amniotic credit sequences of lissom women undulating in silhouette to lavishly charted John Barry's arrangements. But it is also a world in transition. Transatlantic jet service is newly available to commercial passengers thanks to the carriers BOAC and Pan American. G.D. Searle and Company, a pharmaceutical concern, is awaiting approval from the Food and Drug Administration to market one of its products, Inovid, as a birth control for women. A scrubbed, fit group of U.S. military test pilots has just been introduced to the public as Mercury 7, America's first astronauts, and the undeclared Democratic frontrunner in the next presidential election is only 42 years old. So I'm thinking, why am I so attracted to this? I mean, he begins to describe sort of this primordial soup that was getting ready for Sean Connery, and that jetting around the world would shrink it, that birth control pills were the lit match to the sexual revolution in the 60s, of which neither I nor your parents had anything to do with. That in 10 years from the time of 1959, we would have landed on the moon, and that Camelot was about to become a reality in the White House. 200 words, just 200 words, yes, eloquently written, explaining why Sean Connery was going to grab all of our collective imaginations. But I think what turned me on is that it had the power of explaining why. Why? What troubled me about the article, and the reason that I threw it away so many times, was that it was just hindsight. He's looking backward. What was I going to say to you? Get some hindsight before you get that job. It's really going to be great. And I'm wrestling with it, and finally I remembered Laurel Cutler, and then I knew what I was supposed to tell you. I knew what I was supposed to tell you. Today, Laurel Cutler is 85 years old. In her day, she was one of Madison Avenue's most powerful women. If you think of Mad Men, she was there at that point in time. She started something called marketing planning in 1972. And she was going up the corporate ladder when she said it was only one woman wide. In 1985, Fortune magazine named her the top 10 seminal thinkers of the decade. 1990, Ladies' Home Journal named her one of the 50 most powerful women in America. In 1995, the advertising industry named her Man of the Year, which you gotta go, oh, come on, you couldn't have gotten a marker and put a whoa in front of that? And last year, she was inducted into the Advertising Hall of Fame. She is a thinker, a creator, a strategist, and a futurist. And she created a group, a discipline, at Foote Cone Belding, predicting consumer behavior 5 years into the future. And she called it Future Focus. And she would make little films, like 5-minute little sequences, and she gave lots of talks about how she thought the future would be. And that's why I thought it was so perfect to tell you. Over 15 years ago, I sat in a presentation. I was an invited guest. She had come to speak to Kraft Foods about the future of food. I was working for J. Walter Thompson, a mere baby, as you can imagine. She was mesmerizing. I mean, she was a fantastic storyteller. And it was fascinating because she was explaining why. Everything she said in that day turned out to be true. And I thought she was like a human 8-ball. I mean, I didn't know how she did it. It was like a Ouija board. I don't know. I figured it was a gift. It didn't occur to me there was a way about it. A few years later, I met someone who worked for her at that time. And she said, I was one of Laurel's readers. And I'm like, what do you mean a reader? And she said, there were 3 of us who sat in a room and read everything. We read everything and posted it up on the wall, just like Carrie in Homeland, you know, when she gets really off on that, she's got everything on the wall. And we would look for themes. We would dig deeper into areas. We would interview people, and a narrative would begin to form. And they put together these mosaics of what was going to happen. They explained why. And I had an epiphany. this was a job. This could be a job. This is what people did for a living. That discovering insights and explaining why could be a job. Now, I had been an account manager all my life, and as Marty well knows, when you're an account manager in an agency, you are in the crosshairs of doo-doo land. Somebody's unhappy, it costs too much, it's not going to be done on time, Ida. And suddenly I had a glimpse. I had a glimpse of something else. I had a glimpse of what could be my own future focus. So I started down my own path of discovery. I read John Steele's Truth, Lies, and Advertising. Like those readers in the room, I read everything I could. I talked to people. I would work with any consultant who had done anything like this. I started practicing. I loved it. And I was good at it. And at age 39, I changed my career. I went into my boss and said, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to do this. And it changed my life, like William said. Once you find the thing that you love, it changed my life. It changed the projection of my career. Fun and work had become one thing. I want to say it again. Fun and work had become one thing. And when it happens, it feels so easy. Like, I can't believe they're paying me to do this. And it's not that it's challenging, and it's not that it's hard, but you walk in that light. Laurel often said about her work, this whole business of calling the future is either a lot easier than most people think, or we've been very lucky. She was being modest. When it's right, it's easy. When it happens to you, I want you to grab onto it. And my wish for you is that, the chance for you to do what you truly love and to have an inspirational person light the way for you. You are incredible young men and women. You have had an unparalleled education. You have stunning opportunity before you. And all of us, I speak for all of us when I say we cannot wait to see your mark upon this world. Thank you.